Oh, if it still functions, but they're making it now so old computers can't always function, which is sad.
I know.
I was so excited. Sheldon peer pressure and raids are not cool. Are cool, but not cool. But cool. I bought some raid passes and I had fulfilled my raid passes enough for um uh to meet the research requirement of participate in 10 raids. But then
Uh-huh.
there was one raid that went over because it spawned late. And
Uh-huh.
so everybody was walking past that, and I had to walk past it to the car anyway. So I had enough coins because Jill, I asked Jill if it was okay, very nicely, if I know I had spent.
Honey, can I waste money on Pokemon?
Yeah, I said I know I paid money already, but could I just get it? And she's like, fine, whatever. I'm like, okay, yay. So I did, and I bought one more pass because I'm like, well, I bought it. I might as well use it. And Sheldon was giving me shit because I said that. He's like, yeah. And then I got a shiny. So
Good for you.
yeah, I normally don't get shinies. So I got a shiny, whatever it is, the big Gordon
Groudon.
Groudon. I was like, it's shiny. I know because it's green. And everybody laughed at me. But
It's always good to see new players be so enthusiastic.
yeah, so it was a fun raid, fun walk. I got my K in, so um
That's good.
it's
Yeah.
it's got I got a little more hardcore playing when my other two coworkers are into it. The one, Dan Trelka, he's in Germany this week.
Hmm.
But
Oh yeah, that's right. He's doing the Fest in Germany. That's
in Germany.
awesome.
Yeah, he got the tickets, and so they decided to make it kind of a wedding anniversary trip as well. So they left yesterday and made it in yesterday morning or this morning, depending on how you look at it. And yeah, they're there for 4 days now, Thursday through Sunday. Their
Nice.
pass is Friday for the
Nice.
Friday day, so they're gonna go. I think it's Friday, and then there's Saturday. And I think they're flying back Sunday. But still, get to go to Germany and get new guys. And actually, he sent me a gift already. So I was hoping I had to hatch a 2K egg. So I cleared some space. And now I'm going to open his gift and hopefully get a 7K age,
Nice.
which I hope is regional. I don't know, but I think it might be. So that'd be cool. So, but
That's
they're like a 10-hour difference than us. So I'm like,
yeah.
I'm going to try to message him to go going, hey, you want to trade? Uh, just so we get that distance.
That would be exciting.
It would be. So I'm gonna message him tomorrow and say, hey, you want to trade? So, but
Well,
yeah.
you can't trade when
Oh,
you
that's right. It's got to be 100K. No, but
yeah.
he's going to be bringing guys back. So
Oh yes. Oh yes, he will.
he's going to be bringing guys back, and we already put on a request. We want a Mr. Mime if possible. So
That is so exciting.
yeah, so we're like, oh, we hope he catches lots of Mr. Mimes, so he'll be open to trading one with us, just for the hell of it. And then my coworker, we haven't gotten Cinestones in months and we've been playing just the trainers.
Hmm.
So we decided to battle each other, and wouldn't you know it, then we got Cinestones. We've been trying
Yeah.
for months,
Sheldon got one the other day, but I never have.
but they've been really sparse. I'm like, this sucks. I'm like, they should make it at least a little easier to get those. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
because it's a pain in the butt. And I evolved my one Murkrow. I actually have two. I didn't
Oh,
evolve
she
my.
got the shiny.
I didn't evolve my shiny yet. I don't know. I actually got two Cinestones. So I evolved my first Murkrow just to see what it looked like. And it looks really cool. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to evolve my shiny Murkrow though.
There are so many Pokemon that look really nifty if you use the Sinistone on it, though.
Yeah. So I probably will, but I'm waiting a little bit. Right now he's my buddy and I named him Prince. So
because he's purple.
That's only because the Murkrow formerly known the bird formerly known as Murkrow wouldn't fit as the name.
Yeah.
So and you can't do symbols, otherwise I'd do a symbol. So I had to just name him Prince. So
Oh my gosh. Well, Sheldon named his shiny Raticate orange.
oh
Or
yeah,
Clockwork, rather.
yeah. I heard him talking about how he named his shiny Rattata
Clockwork. So it's
Clockwork.
Clockwork
Yeah,
Orange. Yeah.
it was great because he was telling that story and like half the crowd didn't get it. It was like,
Yeah, I have that
he's
problem all the time. Kids are so young.
I know, right? He's smiling. He goes, "Yeah, we named it Clockwork," and people were kind of blinking, and I was chuckling, and a few other were chuckling. Like, after the movie Clockwork Orange, they're like, "Oh." So hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
I fear for our youth sometimes.
Oh, Mark, I was a bad movie mom.
Yeah.
I found out that I did a bad movie mom fail.
What did you
But
do?
Donovan had never seen the musical Little Shop of Horrors.
What?
I know, so I bought it. I bought him the DVD and gave it to him.
How in the hell did that happen in your household?
No, I don't know how that managed to happen.
I mean,
but he'd never seen it before.
I mean,
so I bought the DVD and I gave it to him.
He should have just seen it just on happenstance, like just happened to.
I know. I don't know how I overlooked that particular one.
Wow, that's crazy.
Every other movie I ask him, "Hey, have you seen this?"
Yeah.
And it's always yes. Of course, it's yes.
Mm-hmm.
But not that one.
Wow. That is at least you corrected, but holy crap, that's impressive.
It made it 22 years without saying it. Amazing. That was
Oh, it's okay. These things happen. My kids haven't seen a lot of films, but they weren't really into film watching until recently. So now,
but Donovan was totally always my movie buddy.
Sure.
Like, he was my guy. We watched. I mean, it was our anniversary. We always watched Attack of the Killer Tomatoes together.
Sure.
Yeah, that was a big one. We always watched that one together. Although I think that one was more, okay, Mom, no one else is going to do this. I'll indulge you. He was just tolerant with that one.
Oh, how can you? That's an awesome movie, though. I'm not quite. Your love for the sequels, I have mad respect for, because
the second one.
Yeah.
The other two or three are meh. But yeah.
Well, we'll get chatting here right away about this film. So so we get this. Otherwise, I could.
I noticed there was a lot of a lack of enthusiasm, even for the new suggestions.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a busy month, so
yeah.
We don't do one. That's fine, Or I'll blab myself for a while. That's never happened. Well, it has, but I just never recorded it. Oh
man.
Alrighty, so and welcome, my friends. Yes, it is July, and this seems to start. Well, it starts to become Insect Month here on the Spoiler Room. We had it last year in honor of Ant-Man and Wasp premiering, and this month we have Spider-Man Far From Home premiering. So I figured let's do another Insect Month. So today we are setting the Wayback Machine to 1959 and a Roger Corman film called The Wasp Woman. And to talk to me about this film, I could think of no one more perfect than my right-hand crew member, the lovely diva of the Spoiler Room. It is Dawn. Hello, Dawn.
Hello, Mark. And of course, that has nothing to do with my absolute love of Roger Corman films.
Okay, well, maybe it had a little to do with it, too. So yes, Wasp Woman, 1959, directed by Roger Corman and uncredited according to IMDb, Jack Hill, but still two two icons in B film history. Actually, Roger Corman got an honorary Oscar a few years ago, I think. So, do you want to give the synopsis, Dawn, of The Wasp Woman?
Sure. So, um, cosmetics mogul Janice Starlin, owner of Starlin Cosmetics, has noted that her sales are falling. Why are they falling? Because she has for 15 years been the face of Starlin Cosmetics, and suddenly there's a new model as the face, and because she's aging after 15 years, that's what we do. So in order to try to save her flagging company, she grasps at this new treatment created by scientist, what's his name? I wrote it. Zinthrop.
Zinthrop.
Zinthrop. Yeah. Dr. Zinthrop made a new serum out of wasp queen jelly.
Don't think too hard, folks.
Yeah, really don't. And which she is injecting herself with. Unfortunately, there are some side effects to this, like becoming a werewasp.
I love it.
Uh-huh.
A werewasp.
A werewasp. Yeah.
A film done before a wonderful film, A Bucket of Blood. Corman was in full swing in film direction. I mean, this was his fourth year, and he had already had like 20 films by this time already. I mean, the man was just making them like gangbusters. And well, I get your initial feeling, Dawn. You remember when you first watched this film?
Yeah, it's not one of his best films. I mean, it's not bad because very little by Roger Corman is actually bad, in my opinion. But it's slower.
Mm-hmm.
It's less. It has a more dramatic build and a little less monster action.
Mm-hmm.
Than Corman films typically do. There's a lot more schlock in Corman films, and I think there's a little less in this. And I think that I had forgotten that because it'd been so many years since I'd watched this, even though I have multiple copies of it. It was a little slower and a little less schlocky.
Yeah, and that's what my surprise was. I've only watched it once before, so watching it again for the show, it surprised me how long it took to get to the Wasp Woman action. I mean, it was kind of building up to it. We had a decent build up. I mean, you get the cat that he tested on that, eventually mutated. But yeah, it almost turns more into I don't know if you want to say just more of a drama than an actual, until we get to wasp action where she munches the guy, which was really cool. I mean, yeah, you could kind of see that it's a mask and gloves, but not too bad. I don't think they had much of a budget for this, so
they never do.
Which, yeah, Roger Corman never really did. So, I mean, there is that, and it is Corman making the best of what he has. And in this one, yeah, it's more about a commentary about the effects of aging and society. Actually, it's surprising for a 59 film, Dawn. I was surprised about some of the social commentary they had in this film.
Yeah.
For the type of film it was. Does that surprise you too?
A little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed it. It was distinctly noticeable. Um, I wanted to not be insulted by some of it. I really wanted to not be insulted by some of it. I
Yes.
mean, okay, so I'm thinking specifically about the scene where she's in front of the board and they're talking about why the numbers are dropping, and the one guy comes up and he's very condescending. I mean, he's
Hmm.
really being a dick.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, you're the reason it's dropping." And then he gets all snarky and smirky at her. And then she's the one that apologizes. She's the owner of the damn company, and she's apologizing to this guy being a jerk
Yeah.
and
And
pretty much saying, "Yeah, your company is failing because you're old."
it's, yeah, that conversation was really awkward. I'm like, wow. I'm like, here we have Mr. Pipe and young suave boy who I forgot their Mr. Pipe.
Doesn't matter what their names are. I like your nicknames.
Mr. Pipe and Suave Boy, because they were. You had the suave young guy. You had the Mr. Pipe, who you could tell he was the character that was Arthur Cooper, I think, played by William Rorick. He was the guy that, you're stereotypical guy. I mean, we're talking a B movie here, so your characters fall into usually stereotypes because you don't have a whole lot of time. It's only 74 minutes. We're not doing a huge amount of in-depth character exploration here with the majority of the characters. So you have your stereotypes. So yes, this guy carries a pipe around all the time. He's got some knowledge of science. And you can tell this is a guy who wishes he could run this company instead of leaving it in the hands, in his perspective, not my words, okay, in the hands of a woman.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell Arthur Cooper, this is a guy who, yeah, he's the one that's been kind of condescending. Well, he is condescending, and then the young suave guy, it doesn't help towards her, and you could tell the majority of the guys around the table on the board just slightly resent that they have to answer to her and think she just doesn't know how to run a company anymore because she's old.
Yep. And the
Um,
funny thing is, they are significantly older than she is.
right? I mean, all of them except the one suave boy are.
Mm-hmm.
And they're older than she is, but yet it's her face of why they are failing.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
even, it's from the 59. So we're still in the 50s. I mean, things slowly moving, but we're still rooted in that, well, the misogynistic, conservative
Yeah.
era. And it's reflected even in here because I guess on one hand, you could look at it maybe with the approach of her taking control and using whatever means necessary to do meet her end goals to save her company on one hand. On the other hand, you almost get the feeling they're more making a statement about, oh, look, women are vain and they will kill in order to stay pretty. But
Yes, yes, but I think it goes even a step further. Um, Women are only valued for their looks, and
right.
therefore have to kill.
Mm-hmm.
I think it goes. I mean, I think that it goes just a little bit further than women are vain. I think it's women are only valued for their looks, and instead of their brains, and need to do whatever it takes in order to stay relevant.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the social commentary that's going on there, because her brains obviously are completely intact. I mean, until she starts injecting herself with crazy juice or crazy
Yeah.
jelly.
With the crazy jelly, which don't think too hard about the science, folks, and royal jelly from the queen wasp.
Yeah.
That, yeah. I told that to my wife and she just looked at me and blinked and she's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm trying to figure out, and they compare, at the beginning, they compare. queen wasps with praying mantises,
Right.
which again, I didn't, maybe I just don't know enough about wasps, except that they're evil, they sting, and you kill them with death.
You set them on fire.
They're not nice like little honeybees. Honeybees
No.
are good.
Yeah. Now Susan Cabot does a fan. I loved her character though. Even though her character isn't written the best, I really love her performance as Starling. Though I mean, every scene she's in, she has a presence and a strength about her, regardless of how they wrote her character's actions, her character itself. Cabot really makes this character hers, and I loved every scene she was in. It felt very Janet Leigh-esque in many ways.
Everything from her, from her tone when she spoke with authority, and you spoke with authority.
Yeah.
When the men were contradicting her, they came across as dicks because she spoke with authority. She was the boss. She wasn't pretending to be the boss. She just was.
Yep.
Her physical cues, her body language was all, unless she was intentionally shrinking herself in because of her insecurities, typically her body language was very secure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, when she started dressing less frumpy, you could tell her figure was definitely designed to be waspish.
Yes. I mean, there's that double entendre, is that it would be. It's no it is no just random choice that they picked Wasp as the subject and Wasp Woman as the title for this film. I don't think that was just by just sheer because she turned into a wasp either, because that term has a bit of another meaning, doesn't it?
It does.
Unfortunately. But yeah, I still liked her performance regardless of the motivation. I mean, I guess someone could try to make the argument, well, it's showing that society drives her to do this because of the pressure of beauty put on women. And you can make an argument that that's a little bit more of the count, but that's buried in just her character. The way they have her written, it comes off more as she's just obsessed with looking good, mirror mirror on the wall sort of angle to it, which okay, don't hit me, Don. I know you like Corman, and even though this isn't one of his better films, I know you like it, but I got the vibe of, after watching her, I'm like, did they model Sharon Stone's character in Catwoman after her?
That's a really excellent thought. It really is.
Because I was getting that vibe. I'm watching her character, and
I would never have thought to compare it to Catwoman, mostly because I only saw it like once,
right.
and I repress.
A lot of people do. So,
but yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah, I mean that's I'm watching. I'm like, wow. I'm wondering if they borrowed from her character for the Sharon Stone villain character with the cosmetics. Head of cosmetics, aging, looking to stay young. I know there's just a lot of coincidence. There's other subjects too in films, but just the way they are portrayed as well. I'm just like, I just it for some reason, and I had repressed that. So it's kind of like Catwoman PTSD or something coming back, because I'm like, so
not enough about the trivia in here to actually even on Wikipedia to actually look. And seriously,
I've just given
somebody of the caliber of Sharon Stone certainly isn't going to admit to emulating a Roger Corman film.
No, she tried to disown the fact that, try to convince everyone that no, she didn't realize the camera angle was that way in Basic Instinct, which I'm like sitting here going, Um, okay. Uh, so, but Wasp Woman, yeah. So Janice Starlin is a strong character, though her motivations in that become, though she's sneaky. She is good at hiding bodies.
Was she hiding them or was she eating them?
I'm not sure. She might have been eating most of them.
Because that was the thing I was questioning. Was she hiding the bodies or was she eating them? Which brings us back to that uh, when they compared wasps to a praying mantis
Right, that's
being
true.
cannibalistic.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
I don't
they.
think she could physically fit that many people into her teeny tiny little body.
I was gonna say, I mean, that much of a man to eat be tough even for me.
Hmm.
As a wasp. If I was a wasp, I mean, I'd have an appetite, sure, but I don't think I could eat that much person in one sitting. You
Yeah,
know, maybe unless I had some Chardonnay or nice Chianti.
can't be.
No, sorry. uh,
And a
but
side of fava beans, yeah.
with a side of fava beans, yes. But still, it was cool with her character. She seemed to change into a wasp at the drop of a dime. Um, and in a film like this, you're not looking for too much explanation. You just realize it's the concentrated serum she's taking that has caused this, and that's the most you need to know, really. They set it up well. You get the fun, happy doctor who's created this, Zinthrop, who
Fun, happy, mad scientist doctor.
yeah, fun, happy, mad scientist. I love my wasps. No wasps will be ready. He talks to his wasps. He smiles. He's jovial. Usually until he finds his experiment, because he tries his experiment with a honey company and they are like, we're not hiring you to create a fountain of youth potion from the royal jelly of a wasp. We want you to make royal jelly from honeybees. And so they fire him, and that's how he gets his job here, by showing Miss Starlin his rejuvenation properties of his serum made from the jelly of the queen wasp. But we know that goes awry. And there's a scene in here which I wanted to get your opinion on, Don. The doctor injects his cat, who turns into a kitten, and he thinks it's great. And then, like a few days later, he comes back and the cat's mutated.
Uh-huh.
Almost looks like it's trying to grow wings.
Uh-huh.
So he tosses it in the incinerator and he walks away. And that's when Mr. Pipe is trying to figure out what the bad doctor is doing, because Starling is not confessing why the doctor is there. The doctor walks into traffic. Now, does he do it on purpose? Because they play it off later, they seem to play it off like it was an accident, but the way it's directed, it seems almost like he throws himself in front of a bus.
It does. It does come across that way. And it's not clear. In all of the synopses and everything that I read, and in the plot on Wikipedia, because I was trying to, I'm sorry, there was no comment. And I've got, like I said, commentary. I've got multiple copies of this. There's no commentary. So I couldn't get that answer. But yeah, it does look the way it's directed, as if he jumped into traffic, but then everything else just say he got into a car accident.
Yeah, which makes me wonder if they changed it later on, because Corman directs him and he acts, and where it's placed in the editing, it felt like he realized his experiment, his life's work, isn't actually the way it's supposed to work.
So that's a really good question, because even though this claims to have been released in this is advertised or whatever to be released in 59,
Yeah.
there are some scenes that were clearly shot in 64.
Yeah.
So maybe in that 5 years, they did change some of the base plot lines by adding in those extra scenes.
Yeah, it makes me wonder because I mean, it the thing is, it felt like it fit too. You know, him having uh, his experiment fail. It felt like natural that that's where he was going
Mm-hmm.
with it. Looking at the trivia, that yeah, at least part of the film was filmed 64 later. When the private investigator gets the address in Manhattan for the elderly bee guy, he calls Jerry and tells him to get right on it. The movie then cuts to a young guy in an office without any dialogue, and he's another guy that drives around in search of Zinthrop, and they pass 61 to 64 Chevys. And they pull up to the ambulance entrance, and Jerry gets out of the car. There's a 64 white Chevrolet. So, you know what? I'm wondering, you're right. I'm wondering if they filmed part of this and changed the narrative so it wasn't a
Suicide.
suicide.
Yeah, I don't know because I really don't know how a suicide attempt would have gone over in 59, conservative 59.
With an elderly gentleman, no less,
Uh-huh.
who shows a failure, no less.
Yeah, an elderly white gentleman who should be a
Yes.
failure.
Yes. So, you know, it makes those scenes that they film later, I'm wondering if they use that, especially if they had the PI go to the hospital, because after that, we get some dialogue about how he was in an accident and we never come back to it. But man, you watch that scene, it sure as shit looks like he has resigned himself to failure and he just nonchalantly just steps out into traffic with a sad look on his face. Makes me wonder if he was supposed to die.
And I mean, and then add in the later scenes where
Mhm.
she takes him out of the hospital, takes him to her company, and starts caring for him there.
Right.
Sets up some sort of hospital room and in her cosmetics company for him to care for him. So that really darkens the movie even further. If he's tried to commit suicide, was he doing it to get away from her because he knows what's going to happen to her, or was there something more, something else that they did that he felt that that was the only way he could escape her?
I like where you're going with this
I mean,
because
this is me just having a random fantasies, but it's
it,
possible.
but you have evidence. It's not just fantasy. There's evidence there because thinking back on it, and I'd have to watch it again, but thinking back on it, some of the dialogue about it being an accident felt like maybe it was inserted because if you trim out just a couple bits like that with the PI going to the hospital and having the one dialogue saying it was an accident, yeah, you add a whole nother level and it makes sense with the motivation of Starlin, who's put everything into this potential youth potion that supposedly works but makes her into a homicidal wasp at certain points.
Mhm.
Um, and the guy tries to kill himself but doesn't. So she has him not only there so that she can try to figure out his secret to make more, but possibly to shut him up to make sure he doesn't say anything about the failure because that would have risked her company.
Mhm.
That adds a whole nother level and it makes sense. All you would have to do is take out a few bits of scenes and it totally changes it and it would fit. So, you know, because later on you get scenes with the doctor who's trying to wake up and he's trying to remember something to tell her, you know, and we get those scenes. And yeah, I mean, it could easily, with a fan edit, you could easily trim it that way. And I think that would actually make this a bit of a better movie.
A little bit.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, but who would ever look at it that deeply?
yeah, I know. I think we're I think we're already looking at. I mean, we already looked too deeply into Catwoman. So, you
Yeah,
know, I mean, I've already looked too deeply into that.
yeah.
I'm ashamed at the fact that it popped into my head while watching this film. So, you know, I don't know what that says about me, but yeah, we've got the secretaries. Don, what'd you think of the secretaries?
Those, yeah. all the good they did with Susan Cabot and Janice Starlin, that character, the powerful, strong woman, they completely undid with those other two.
They did, because we had the one who folded to peer pressure by the two guys, her boyfriend and Mr. Pipe, to get the letter from Sterling, to basically get in trouble. She's risking her job, talk her into it, pressure her into spying on her boss, basically to go against her boss at some point,
Industrial espionage would be the term for that.
Basically do industrial espionage. And then you had the other secretary in the office who was,
yeah.
what you think about? I mean, I found her humorous, but at the same time, I'm like, man, this dates the film.
And the thing that really had me shaking my head was she would talk like what my impression of a man's view of a stereotypical 1959 woman would have been. And then all of a sudden, when the phone rang and she had to put forth this image of professionalism, they made it so that it was some sort of an act or a charade. Because when she answered the phone, her whole demeanor, her voice, everything changed. But then when she was speaking with her, interacting with her peers and with the other, and with her bosses, for lack of a better term, she did not come across as professional or together or
no, she
a powerful woman.
She talked with a thicker kind of, for lack of a better term, I don't want to say lower city accent. Thank you. I don't want to necessarily say lower class, but compared to the bosses in that, she talked with a different accent, a more blue collar accent when she wasn't on the phone. And Lynn Cartwright plays her, and Lynn Cartwright's a really good actress. She plays her in here, and her performance is fine. It's just the way she's written was really just.
Her performance was excellent because she was showing off that distinction of what women should have been and represented versus what men thought they were. And I'm really saying what men thought they were because I'm sorry. Women in the movies back then were the stupid version because that's what men thought they were. They should be.
And that's what got me is I'm watching this going, you know what? The writer who was her boyfriend at the time, I'm like, I bet the writer thought he was just writing her like this strong, really, you know what I'm saying? Like he's writing this part, but when you watch it, you're like, no, dude, you're still getting it wrong.
No, or he could have been writing a caricature.
Right. Or he could be writing a caricature. That's true. Well, in fact, you get the one scene where the delivery guy shows up with the bed and she puts up kind of a front and the guy kind of calls her on it. And then she mentioned something about going to plaster him in the face or something, where she could beat the crap out of her or something. He's like, now that's more like it. And he to deliver the bed, which I thought was an interesting exchange. And I'm like, okay, but it just an interesting way she was written versus she was definitely a stronger, I will say in many respects, she was the stronger of the two secretaries as far as character wise. Because the Starlin's main secretary folded at the pressure of anyone.
Pretty much.
Because she folded at to the guys to do the industrial espionage, but then she also folded fairly quickly, confessing to her boss what she did. It's just like, I'm like, wow, you're not very good at this. Or she is, I'm not sure, but it just definitely different characters than the Starling character.
Yes, very much so.
And all of them are still nestled firmly in the 50s. Though there's hints of them. I really think it's not so much the way they're written, but the performers help. Kind of like we've talked about before, but some of the other monster films where we had the 50s actresses who seemed to make the most out of the character and at least try to give it some spin versus what it's actually written, and their performances help elevate it above to what is actually there with their characters. Would you say that, or am I off on that?
No, I think you're right. I mean,
Mhm.
for the most part, a lot of women, and even in Corman films, because Corman is, I don't know, he's very unique, and you can tell when he really likes his characters, when he's kind of, um, what's the expression I want to use? Uh, yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm drawing a blank on exactly how I want to say this. I'm
Sure.
struggling with this, but it's like you said, this is 4 years in. He's already done how many films?
Hmm.
And yeah, this was not one of the stronger ones.
No, it wasn't. It almost feels like kind of a side project in many ways. It feels like this was when maybe that was asked of him, or he was brought a script, and because it's only 74 minutes, and actually originally it was only like 60 some minutes, like 63, I
Yeah,
think. you know and um it's still a fun B movie. I think his film after this, Bucket of Blood, is a lot better.
didn't they release this as like a double feature with something as well? I don't remember what the double feature was.
Actually, I was just
They did that all the time.
yeah, they did that because that's partly where the phrase, if a few of our audiences may not realize that the name of the B movie is because it was the B film. It was the second film in a double feature. Usually you had a little bit bigger film, and then you had the second film.
It's
It,
the same series, the B side of a record album. I mean,
right.
for those of you not old enough to know, records once upon a time, record albums. They had two sides. Not like you didn't get 100 million songs on one little flash drive.
You had to flip the disc or the cassette in any case. And 45s, yeah, the B side, B films were like the B side of a 45, where you'd get the hit movie, and then on the other side would be maybe a lesser known, maybe not quite as good song on the 45. And here in the double features, you'd get the top bill film and then the not so top bill film. And the double feature you're thinking of, Dawn, Beast from Haunted Cave, is the double feature that they did with.
Which is
The
really funny because that's no more better known than this.
No, it isn't. It did have Richard Sinatra in it, but no. And sometimes you had a double feature where neither film was the neither film was the big film. But then again, we're talking about an era where people paid 15 cents, walked into a movie theater, and if you caught the movie in the middle, don't worry, just sit there for 2.5 hours and you'll catch up because they just put the films on loop.
Mark,
Huh.
I didn't know they remade this
What?
in 1995.
Why? I mean, oh, did they?
They did.
In 95, really?
Kim Wynarski.
Oh, and it was Warnarski, no less?
Uh-huh.
Oh boy, I have a feeling we may need to do a follow-up episode.
My God,
Um,
please.
uh,
Yeah,
wow, I didn't realize. In 95, you said? Man,
yeah,
Corman's really produced a lot of films.
yeah.
Um, oh, there it is. Yeah, because he was executive producer on it.
Oh,
Holy
Fred Olin Ray was in this.
wow, Wynorski and Jennifer Rubin in it. Well, his main people that he usually gets in here. Wow. Julie K. Smith. Well, we might have to look this up and see if we can get our hands on this. Oh, come on. You come over. We'll pop some popcorn.
Well,
and we'll watch it together and share what might be fun.
There's
and
something so wrong with us.
There is something very wrong. I don't know why I am excited about the fact of possibly watching a Jim Wynorski remake of The Wasp Woman, but
yeah.
this really intrigues me. So we'll leave that for a later date. We're just gonna we're going to. I will get my hands on this film. We will watch it together, and we will talk about it, and maybe do a follow-up episode, because this film has to be watched. Looking at this cast and who's behind it. I mean, well, Corman did direct it, so there is that. I mean, executive produce it, so and you've got some quality actresses in here who are very experienced in things. So
Very experienced in things.
in things and stuff.
Okay.
That's the trying to keep it PG description of what some of them were in. But hey, so keep it ear to the ground, folks, because we may do a follow-up episode on that. But traveling back to 1959, The Wasp Woman, yeah, I agree with you, Dawn. This isn't Corman's strongest film. It feels almost like just a side project, or a project that was like he was asked to do it. And he said, yeah, okay, I've got a schedule of a few weeks.
Yeah. So, yeah. I think the only reason that this film, the monster itself, worked was because Susan Cabot had the correct figure. Otherwise, the mask and gloves were definitely not sufficient to make a believable wasp.
Right. Though now my brain is sitting there going, they missed out on a golden opportunity. They could have did Wasp Woman versus the Fly. Oh, that would have been.
Except they never did a werefly in the Price movie.
That's true. I know.
He went directly to full fly form.
That's true. So
say that one 4 times fast.
Full fly form. Whew. But yeah, that's true. That's true. He did change completely into, well, you could do Son of the Fly versus Wasp Woman.
Fair enough.
Let's go with that. Or you do kind of a retro thing to where it's the Fly, but it's still when he's part human and part fly head and hand, but the rest of them is still human type of deal, going against Wasp Woman, who's a werewasp. And this would be an awesome movie. That'd be so cool. No, sorry. I suddenly want this film to be a real thing.
The Wasp Woman versus Weresquito.
Oh, there you go. Wasp Woman. You could have done a whole... See, look, Asylum Pictures, if you're listening, I will only take a 12% cut of the profits. No?
Have Chris Mim do it. He'd do it so much better.
You're right. We'll give it to Mim. I'm sure you could probably get the rights to it of at least Wasp Woman. And yeah, Wasp Woman versus Weresquito. There you go. I'd watch that. That'd be cool. And then you could even play it off kind of like the Batman Catwoman type of relationship, where the human forms are kind of like, hey, and then they're battling it out as insects, and then they realize who they are, and then they make insect babies. And so you then have mosquito wasp hybrid. Sorry. Now
I don't know how I feel about that. I just don't.
Todd's like, okay, look at the time. All right, where's the hang up of this Where's that hang up button on the hangout? Mark has gone into La La Land now. And then you could have the children of, where wasp or wasp mosquito.
Wasp
Oh,
mosquito.
wasp mosquitoes. There you go. Okay,
Wow.
I digress. Now I'm having too much fun. Hey, the film was fun. You know what I found kind of interesting with this film is it shows though how much Corman can do with very little.
It
Cause
really does.
because there's not many locations shot in this film. And they do their best to give the impression there's an elevator in this office set they're on. But it's one hell of an elevator. I don't
Yeah,
think that was an elevator, Don. Do you?
I really don't.
It was more of like truly reminded me of a 1966 Star Trek, the original series. It really did. When they'd go in the door and they'd play off like they're in the elevator, but it's all on the same level.
Yes, most definitely.
Namely because we never get a shot of anyone inside the elevator. They're always leaving, or yeah, they're always leaving. So what I found kind of interesting though, too, with Corman's style is one, doing a lot with little. I mean, yeah, the wasp effects are kind of hokey, but hey, the mask looks pretty cool. But we get all this seriousness of her munching a guy and drama and espionage. And then we have the minor character of the Night Watchman.
Yes.
In all this drama and darkness and all these things going on, we get this guy, Don. Tell our audience a little bit about our little side character of the Night Watchman and the music that goes with him.
Was that? No, that wasn't it. Was that the music that sounded just like it was from Planet of the Apes?
Yeah, but it was kind of light and goofy and almost comical in a way.
Yeah. So I was going to mention, I didn't. I guess I didn't specifically notice that one. I just noticed that some of the music in this sounded as if it was
borrowed.
Well, I think wasn't this before Planet of the Apes?
I do believe so. Yes.
So I'm thinking that Planet of the Apes borrowed from this.
Ah, that could be. I wouldn't doubt it. Films back then did borrow from each other.
Yeah, because they could.
Because they could. But the Night Watchman I found comical. Here's something we have this comic relief in the middle of all this stuff. He's got this kind of doopy music, and it's a rather heavy set gentleman, for that physical comedy that was big back then. Let's laugh at the big fat Night Watchman who's kind of inept, who gets munched. But he just suddenly we get this little comic interlude. It was just weird. And it kind of threw me off a little bit. I mean, it was humor that was fitting for Corman, but it just felt so out of place.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Corman films were typically a little more schlocky, a little more fun, and this one is more drama.
Yeah, the Night Watchman felt a little more like the Corman fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had this rest of this kind of seriousness, and it was just weird. I liked the character. I wanted to see more of the Night Watchman. I felt more bad when he got munched than when Mr. Pipe got munched. I was kind of happy Mr. Pipe got munched.
We all were.
And we actually got to see some blood too.
A little bit,
not a lot, but for 59, I mean, her munching his neck and it bleeding, I thought was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Though, excuse me, though later on I read about the final scene we get with her where they throw acid on her, and apparently a prop guy screwed up And yeah, the glass was too heavy. It smashed into her. She thought her teeth had gone through her nose. The smoke made her choke to where she scratched at her skin and actually got a permanent purple mark on her throat.
Yeah.
Yeah, 59 standards, especially for low budget films, were not the best.
Yeah.
For safety wise. And it is unfortunate because I think this was her last film too.
Yeah, her last feature film. She did a couple of things on TV, but not much.
Yeah, so this was her last feature film, and she puts in a hell of a performance, as we mentioned before, but it is unfortunate because but that stuff kind of happened more often than not on some of these films. So well, excuse me. I think that we've covered it enough. There's not a whole lot to this film.
No, there's
It is dated even for a B film. Um, let's get final thought with the Wasp Woman, and would you recommend it to someone, especially if they're looking at the Corman catalog?
everything Corman is worth watching, but there are better Corman movies out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I would have to agree. I did find some entertainment in here, but the film in general has a few more problems than Corman films usually do, and this would not be my first choice or a go-to choice if I was going to watch Corman films. As I mentioned earlier, his one after this, A Bucket of Blood, is by far a better film than this one. Which makes me wonder if, like you were mentioning, Don, if he just wasn't into this one. Like
Yeah.
if he
I'm
did
sure
it.
he was contracted to do, or he maybe had a ton of ideas, and some of them just once he started working on them just didn't spark his imagination as well as others.
Right. Or something else with this film. Producers or somebody got involved and didn't and wanted to take it in a different direction than he did, because it does in parts feel like Corman, and a lot of parts though it feels not like his standard type
Yeah.
of film. So there you have it, folks. Our first insect film of the month, The Wasp Woman. Don't confuse it with Wasp Women. That's a completely different film in which you will see many different things. But The Wasp Woman from Roger Corman. There you have it, folks. So, Dawn, license to shill time. I know you haven't written anything for a little while, but you still have written word out there thanks to the intranet. So, why don't you give folks just a little spiel of where they can find your written stuff at?
On occasion, you can find things at intheaudience.net.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for doing this, Dawn, and talking Corman. I know it's not much of a twist of the arm to talk Corman films, even the not so great ones.
Well, even a lot of times the homage to Corman films.
Yes, the homage to Corman films, which let me know. I would be up, I'll watch anything. I would be up to watching the remake of
Oh God, it's available for free on YouTube.
Oh my. Might have to fire up a rabbit room or just have you over, or we'll figure something out, because I think this is one that we'll need to watch together. watch together to
Okay, I think this might require a visit to the winery.
Oh.
At the winery and have Jill just sit there shaking her head at us the whole time. Which, of course, we could do that from the comfort of her own home.
We could do it. I'm guessing with some of the performers that are in this film, we may not be appropriate to watch at the winery. It's a Wynorski film, and a few of the folks who are involved in it, yeah, it may be a little bit more mature than the 59 version. So just a shot in the dark on that one. But it did, the remake did star someone who starred in a film that was part of a little spiel here to everyone. If you haven't visited our good friends over at Astro Radio Z, you should check it out, because I had the privilege of being part of their Mockbuster Summer Special for the bottom shelf reviews that Daniel does for Astro Radio Z episodes, where we reviewed 4 Asylum films. and one of them was Transmorphers Fall of Man, and one of the stars from the Wasp Woman remake was in Transmorphers Fall of Man. So there's a little obscure, useless knowledge of connections between shows and movies. So thank you so much for listening, folks. We appreciate you. Now let's just say goodnight, Dawn.
Good night.
Good night. And watch out for wasps.
Yeah, evil bastards.
Evil bastards. They are evil bastards.
They are. There's no. Yeah.
There is no redeeming quality to a wasp whatsoever. I have yet to.
There's slightly more redeeming quality to a wasp than there is to a yellow jacket. They just want to.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, between the two, I'll take the wasp over the yellow jacket. Yellow jackets are just straight up ass. They're just assholes.
Yes.
And then you have your buddies, the fuzzy little bumblebee.
Bumblebees are so
cute. They're so cute. I like fuzzy little bumblebees. They usually don't sting you, so
typically no. Honeybees either.
No, they'd rather just fly away than do that because they'll most likely die when they sting you. So they don't really want to.
For some reason, it's always the yellow jackets that I tend to find nests in my yard.
Really?
Yes.
You don't find them by running over them with your lawnmower, do you?
That's how we discovered Sheldon was allergic to bees.
Oh my.
And ended up in the hospital 3-4 times in one summer before I finally said, okay, we're not going to politely relocate these things anymore.
Yeah, we're just going to kill them with a vengeance.
Well, the first one we actually didn't need to kill. We were able to. We did the ground nest was easy.
Sure.
But the second one, that one I had to use actual. It was just this very small paper nest.
Sure.
The ground nest we were able to just. They like a dry ground nest rather than a wet ground nest.
Oh, okay.
So every day I would just shove the hose down there in the morning and wet things up until they eventually moved out.
Sure.
But the second nest I couldn't do that with, and I had to actually kill them with poison, which I hated doing.
Well, but sometimes you gotta weigh it, especially if you've got someone at your household who is deathly allergic to them. Then
destroying a teeny tiny nest that's just starting to be built, or more trips and possible death for my husband. Gonna choose my husband.
sorry, wasps. Maybe or yellow jackets next time. Just pick a different.
You might win.
Yeah, just pick a different place. So. All right. Well, thank you very much, Don. I appreciate it. I'm going to go see Midsummer if you're interested.
Good.
Not interested.
Not really. I've got a huge stack of movies here that I want to watch.
Sure.
I got I did the last time the dollar store had a bunch of Blu-rays. I bought a ton of them, including The Secret Life of Walter Mitty and Hail Caesar.
I didn't see that one in the list, but I do have that awful, painful. I have it just
too. Yeah, I couldn't watch. I got about halfway through, and I'm like, I have to watch something that sells.
Wow, you could even get through it.
Well, I'll get through it again later, but
sure, I had to muscle through it because the Colin Farrell one was actually that one was entertaining, mainly because full disclosure, we did have David Tennant in it, so that helped with the film immensely.
I think I would have given it a little more chance the first time around if they wouldn't have just used different characters.
Sure.
But they weren't the same characters. They clearly weren't the same characters, even though they had the same character names.
Yeah, no, it was they couldn't get the original cast back. They couldn't. Yeah, no, it was. You're
talking. I mean, even the sidekick's name was Ed. Yeah. Ed turned into a vampire and was killed.
Right. Yet somehow there he is again. Yeah, it didn't make much sense, and it was just them uh, trying to cash in, and a reason why I think that one went to. I do believe that one went to direct to video.
Yeah. I mean, and granted, the only thing they had going for it was sexy Jamie. No, what's her head? But
Ali, no, not Jamie. Ali Lauder.
no,
Yeah,
Jamie. It was Jamie. Jamie something.
yeah.
But that was the pretty much the only thing they had going for it.
Mm-hmm. And that's what they totally played off of too, was that that her appeal was really, you could tell, was the main focus, unfortunately. And yeah, it just yeah, it was sad because the first one was kind of fun, and I'm like, oh, they got a potential here, and then they screwed the pooch. So
Yeah, they did.
so hey, all right.
Murray.
Well, we will see you later, Dawn. Say
All
hello.
right.
Say hello to Sheldon, and
Absolutely.
it was fun raiding with him again. I'll probably be my only one this month, most likely. So, which I told him that, and he just shook his head. He's like, "Yeah, right." But I'm like, "No, no, 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 probably." So we'll see. But yeah, and you have a good fourth.
And you enjoy your movie, and we will see you Saturday.
Sounds good.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.